Hi guys, thank you so much for watching Popstyle TV. I'm here with the mastermind behind Juggling the Jenkins, Tiffany Jenkins. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me and calling me a mastermind.
Well, with 3 million followers on Facebook and 1 million followers on Instagram, you have to be doing something, right? So Tiffany, I actually finished reading your memoir, High Achiever, last Sunday. So obviously I want to begin by talking about that. For those unfamiliar with it, can you describe it in a few sentences?
Yes, my book is basically about the time that I hid my IV drug use from my deputy sheriff boyfriend and got arrested. Just your average everyday stuff.
Exactly. And Tiffany, your book is written in the style of a novel, but it's actually all true. And I think while fiction is difficult to write in terms of creativity and story development, nonfiction is just equally as difficult to write and write well, but it's also painful in a different way because you're reliving real experiences, and especially the not so good ones, through every sentence. How was your experience with it? And did you have a chapter that was particularly emotionally draining?
There was definitely some guilt that I had thought that I resolved that came up when I was writing, but the chapter that affected me the most, as even when I was recording my audiobook, was the one where my father came to visit me in jail and told me that he himself had gotten sober and that he still loved me no matter what I did, because at that point I felt like a completely useless human being, incapable of being loved. And that moment that he came to visit me changed my entire life. Hearing he got sober made me want to get sober, and that's what made me decide to go to rehab. And it's always emotional because my dad ended up passing away, but I'm still so grateful for him and his love when I didn't deserve it.
And what I really found empowering through your memoir was the humanity in it and the humor, and you basically bring a face to addiction. After your memoir, you actually launched your popular Juggling the Jenkins parenting blog. What inspired you to do that?
Well, every time I looked on social media, everything seemed so perfect and like filtered and photoshopped. And when I was using, I didn't see a lot of hope out there in regards to addiction. I didn't see a lot of people talking about their recovery and getting clean. And so I kind of wanted to just show the world, like, hey man, life is not perfect, and it is possible to live a life after addiction, even if it isn't perfect, but it's possible to be happy even when you don't have it all together. So that really motivated me, was the lack of authenticity that was out there at the time.
And I think that's exactly why it became so popular, because it really it brings a universal aspect to addiction where it doesn't discriminate on sex, gender, who you are, what race you are, where you come from, and that applies to parents, where you could be a good parent and be an addict. So how would you define good parenting?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. I'm my bar is low for good parenting, but in my opinion, I think the most important underlying thing is love. Making sure that the kid knows that they're loved and that they're treasured. The rest of it, as far as like, feeding them vegetables and getting them to bed at a decent time, none of that is as important to me as making sure that, you're talking to your kids like you would talk to another adult, explaining to them why you're yelling at them, so that it makes sense.
Would you say the secret is there is no secret?
Oh yeah. Yes, there's absolutely no secret whatsoever.
So how do you continually come up with new content, new inspiration?
It's so hard. My biggest fear is like just running out of ideas and becoming irrelevant, because there's so many creative people out there and you can only make so many videos about, parenting is hard, I have spit on me, or, don't do drugs. And so I'm constantly trying to think of what's next. What can I do next? As the world is evolving, I'm trying to evolve as well. So like I'm starting up a new podcast because that's the cool thing now. I'm writing a second book, and I'm going with the flow, but I very much worry about becoming irrelevant and running out of ideas
you also
daily.
three children for inspiration for daily content, right? So
Yes.
your comedy and what you discuss is going to age with them.
Exactly. That changes too. I'm not as exhausted because they can fend for themselves now. So I have time to shower. And so it ages with them. And it's so true.
And you just mentioned you're writing a second book. Is there anything you can share with us? What it's going to touch upon?
That, I am not 100% sure myself, but it's going to kind of pick up where the first one left off, but it's going to be written in a different style because I can't do it like, how the first one reads like fiction.
Right.
Well, after I got clean, things weren't as crazy and chaotic and like drugs and all this craziness. So it wouldn't be nearly as exciting. So I'm changing the way I'm writing it, but it's basically going to be about living in recovery and parenting and social media and whatever else I want to throw in there.
Well, thank you for being here, and thank you guys for watching Pop Style TV.